right, I got as many shares as I could in that time frame.
I got at least one.
Man, goodness gracious. I'm still going. What's up, everybody? Hi, howdy.
Hello.
Those are some fancy graphics you got there.
I know, right?
Yeah.
What was that new starting soon vibe music?
Oh, that one is
got a
called
whole new tune.
That one was called Feeding the Ducks, and it is
Feeding the Ducks.
It's a StreamYard little clip, so
it's a StreamYard special.
That was just for all of our ears. All right, I'm still sharing this. So, hi everybody. First and foremost, Joe was going to be here, but it's his birthday, so he rightfully has the night off. Happy birthday to Joe.
Happy birthday, Joe.
Happy birthday, Joe.
Happy birthday,
Joe. Let's see. Let me get links ready. We are going to talk quite a bit to Mark about his campaign that is live now on Kickstarter called Project Valhalla. But first, let's get Greg out of the way because Greg's live and he's just been staring at his screen all day.
Waiting for it to change.
And I will get your link since you didn't put it in there.
Oh, yeah.
How dare you?
We know the project.
Yeah. But who knows? Other people might not have seen Greg's messages and posts.
Yeah, lots of posts.
Well, Greg, tell us about your project.
If you like supernatural and superhero origin stories, then you'll like Scales. It's about a young kid that doesn't really want to go on this tropical vacation that he planned with his late father, but he does. And then some bad shit goes down for him and his mom.
Wah, wah.
The family gets reorganized and reorganized and relocated.
All right, that link's in there. I did it. You're welcome, Craig.
Thanks.
No problem, man.
I'm just sharing your stream now. It's fine.
What do you have? Like 5 or so of those hollow foils left? Of the covers, the variant covers.
It's probably like 7 or something. I don't know.
No, I think there was I think
You're
there was a
doing it.
couple more sold than that.
You're funded.
Yeah.
Hey, that's what matters. All right.
Congrats.
Yeah, man. Let's talk to Mark. Mark, you are. It's hard to say new. Let's see. This year, this book finished getting produced in like 2015 or something, art wise, right?
16. Yeah, I think I got it all printed and everything. For the first time, and then it sat on the shelf. I didn't know what to do with it. I sent it to comic book publishers, but I was remiss in doing it and taking the approach we're taking now with the Kickstarter campaign. And one of the things. So the name of my comic book is Project Valhalla. I started to write this comic book when I was 12 years old, and I'm far from 12 now. But I've been working on it in one way or the other pretty much since then. And one of the things that I've said a bunch of times is I think one of the reasons that it was hard for me to launch this project was because it was so much a imaginary world and a safe escape place as a kid that I think I just had a really hard time letting go of it and not letting it remain that kind of hidden little thing that I kept to myself. But yeah, so in 2015, 2016, I did an original version of this same comic book that we're doing. But what I realized, and I've been kind of saying this to people, is that I was so close to the actual project that it needed a new pair of eyes. And when I reread it, I just realized I needed to get someone else to kind of look at it and just make the story stronger. Not that I didn't have all the right kind of ideas going on for it, but so that's actually why Joe, who we were just talking about, helped introduce me to you, Aaron, because you are someone who kind of saw what I was doing with it and was able to help me tweak it and kind of make it that much better and kind of make it what I'm proud of now. Not that I wasn't proud of it before, but just the little tweaks you had in some of the ways that things were laid out, and then just helping me to strengthen some of the storytelling. I made it into something that I think is really great. So
It's almost like that first version was for you, like made by you. That was what was in your heart, and you needed to tell that story that way. And then
that's
once you got
100%
that,
true.
you got that off your heart, and then all right, well, how can I play with the story, and what can we do with it, and how can we elevate it past these other things? That's
Absolutely.
cool. I think
That's
that's two
you said it
versions.
perfectly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I-
It was, I'm one of the people that's selective over jobs that I edit. And I was excited about this one because, first off, superheroes aren't dead. That's one of the reasons I definitely wanted to have Greg in here as well. I did invite Tier, but he never responded to me. But we, we're all about some superhero stuff, and I think it's probably going to remain that way. So, you did this project that's close to your heart, and it has superheroes like so many of us read growing up.
Right.
And I think that's really awesome because it keeps you true to the things that you grew up with and the things that you knew. But I thought it was a really cool project, and it was the first thing I think I edited that was like a team-based thing. In fact, I think it was one of the first things I've edited that's gotten released anyway. So that's pretty cool. I definitely want to make sure that we go ahead and show your trailer, and then we'll talk a bit more about the background of the story and where it came from and stuff. But this is the trailer for Project Valhalla.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mark Bateman, and I'm the writer and the creator of Project Valhalla. Project Valhalla is my baby. It's something that I've struggled to let go of because it's been my creative escape and my imaginary world for most of my adult life and my childhood life, actually. While there is certainly a part of me that wants to keep these characters and these adventures to myself, the other side knows that it's meant to be shared with others. Thankfully, the other side is winning, because I realize that all art becomes what it is when it's presented for other people's enjoyment. So how would I describe Project Valhalla? Well, it begins as a straightforward comic book, but quickly becomes a story of puppets and puppet masters. It's a rich, multi-layered fable that unravels over time.
It's just
Dang,
all
that
about
trailer,
music,
yo.
people. It's all
Oh,
about music.
good. You did such an amazing job with that. Thank you.
Thanks, man. Glorified slideshow, but thanks. Yeah, I don't know. I love putting stuff like that together. But anyway, Project Valhalla. You are what's tomorrow's the end of week 1.
Uh-huh.
Let me get this roll.
And yeah, I mean, I'm thrilled with the response. I think I'm like 80% funded, and I couldn't be more impressed by that and humbled, actually. But this is why I'm glad we're on here, though, because I would say that there's a pretty large amount of my friends and loved ones who have contributed to that, but those aren't the people who necessarily would be really interested in reading this comic book. They love me, or they're my friends, or they want to support me, but they're not people who would really enjoy diving into these characters and learning their world and this universe. So this is going to allow me to be introduced to people who would like that, who would want to see a story that really unfolds in a really interesting way, has fantastically unique characters that all kind of work together. It's based on a mystery that they're trying to all figure out what's going on. So, it's a story that will definitely unwind over time, and I think it will bring people who want to go on that ride are going to enjoy themselves.
Yeah, and you didn't start it off small either. It was a bigger goal, and it's also a larger book. With it being 100 pages for first time out of the gate, that's
Wow.
It's an undertaking. So
yeah, 40 years in the making almost. So 30 plus years. Let's not age myself too much, but yeah. I definitely went in there with trying to make a bang, and I think I waited. Not I didn't wait so long. I think I was just so built. I had this momentum that has been building for so long that it just feels like I want to go out there and show the world this, because it deserves to be shown. It's selfish if I don't show it to the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's an awesome way to start off and build trust with 100 pages. You're letting them decide, okay, I really like this story. I'm getting a good chunk of it, and I'm invested in the characters, and it's like building trust in the indie comics world. That's really good right off the start.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good.
You also you get the benefit of a longer format, so it'll people can rationalize okay, well, it's going to take longer before I see something again, but in the long run, I think it's worth it, because that's huge. I mean, that's for most people, that's 4 books worth of content.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty awesome to come out and do that your first time through.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
One of the things I tried to do in this comic book is, I know this is one of everyone's favorite images. Joe did such an amazing job doing the art for this. And helping me bring these characters to life. Just looking at that, it's like, my little 12-year-old brain is exploding.
Yes.
But what I tried to do in this story, which when you actually open it up and start to read it, you'll see, I have the central story, this origin story, and what consists of this double issue. But what I do is, throughout the story, I start bringing little hints into the bigger story that's coming. And what I said earlier is this is absolutely a mystery. So what happens is, we have the 7 characters who begin to have the same dream of a woman made of stars, asking for help, basically. And at first, all of them kind of ignore it, thinking it's just some random dream. But it reoccurs and reoccurs, and it gets more vivid and more real, until they're actually compelled to go to a place and find her. And so what they do is they all end up at right here. They all end up at Arlington Cemetery around the grave, and they're like, "Why are we all here?" And Scion, who's the one we talked about, the one with the white skin who was screaming, he's a telepath. He's able to tell that whatever is underneath there is in stasis and is indeed alive. And so they exhume the body. And when they do, they find that there's a woman in there who's been, dead for 80 years, who has absolutely no idea what's going on. She has no idea why they're there. She just knows that she's supposed to be with them, and they all know they're supposed to be together. And that's what begins the mystery. Why were they brought together? No one knows. And you start to see hints in the story of what that's all about. And that's only going to, as we go forward with the storytelling, this is only going to get deeper and more rich as we're telling it. But what I wanted to do in this first story is, not weigh everyone down with a lot of backstory. I wanted people to, get in the swing of a big battle in this first issue, see lots of action and see these characters in action, because really, when it comes down to it, a comic book is something where, you want to see cool things happening on the page. And, Joe did an excellent job. I'm talking him up a lot, not even because it's his birthday, because it's the truth. But, he did an excellent job helping me to present that. And the artwork is really fascinating and fun, and the story, there's enough of a good story that that the art and the story work together fantastically. So
yeah. and started off strong first week. Now it's coming down to like, all right, now it's time for the comic book world and people to start seeing it. And I know you've done a few recordings for shows, and then we have some other stuff coming up. I think we have. We'll see. We have something next. Is it next week? Yeah, next Monday.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Yeah, I think next Monday we have like Inner Sanctum. You did the Icarus one.
I did Icarus one. I did Paranormal Guys out of Atlanta. I'm going to be on April 3rd. I'm going to be doing another one. Off the top of my head, I can't remember what, but I'll be updating everything on my Facebook page, which I don't have a website for Project Valhalla yet. I put my money in this kind of stuff. So my Facebook page, which is Project Valhalla, all one word, is where you can find me and where I'll be keeping updates on everything. And then, of course, the Kickstarter campaign, which I'm sure we have the link on here somewhere. People can look at. Yeah. So,
why don't you tell people a little bit about where the story came from? You've been working on it since you were younger, and I know it's a huge part of who you are as a person as well. So, share a little bit of that.
Yeah, so I definitely started out as a comic book kid. I didn't really like to read, so my parents saw that I read comic books, so they indulged that. And so I talk about the age of 12, and that's significant because my parents gave me a Marvel comic book role-playing game. It was like D&D except within the Marvel universe. And I didn't like the game so much, but it allowed you to create characters of your own. And that's kind of where it all started. I made these 4 characters that were basically, knockoffs of my favorite Marvel characters. And I started to go from there. And, the characters morphed incredibly. I think there was only of those 4 characters and the characters that are in this comic book, I think only 2 of them even share similar powers, but it was the starting point. And what happened was I just became obsessed with it. I started to use things like my love of Tolkien and his ability to really create an amazing backstory with philosophies and worlds and all these massive things. That was very much an inspiration. There was a TV show in the 90s that was called Babylon 5, science fiction show. That was another one that really kind of led me in that direction of the overarching storyline. Japanese anime was huge for me back in the day too, Akira especially, like things like that. But I think the thing that probably inspired me the most for the characters though was basically John Byrne, the writer and the artist. He created a Canadian comic book called Alpha Flight, and until he left and they bastardized the poor thing. Those characters were my favorite characters of all time because they were all so incredibly different and unique. And the one thing that I took from that is the ability to have characters that are so interesting that you want to know what they're all about, more than just their ability to fight together in a team. And that's what I wanted to do with Project Valhalla, is I wanted to create characters that you want to know what they're all about. You want to see them even in their own one-offs and see what makes them tick. And you don't get that all the time with a lot of superhero teams where they have to be together in order to tell the story. Those are great things too, but it wasn't what I wanted to do with mine. So,
yeah, I like that the last part of this particular book, included in the 100 pages, is the character Bible, and it gives you a little bit more depth to the different characters and what to expect from them. I would say, going forward. I think that's really cool because it gets people a little bit more invested for what the future looks like as well, rather than just a one-off story that people might not think about again. I think it'll leave them like, okay, well, what can that character bring to this particular dilemma? So I'm interested to see what happens going forward with this as well.
Yeah, and you talked about the source book, the Bible, or the who's who, however you want to call it. And one of the things I do immediately in that source book is describe the world and say, basically I say everything is the same as our modern world except this, and this, and it sets you up to understand having just read the comic book, what the kind of the laws that make this universe work. And I wanted that to be included because, there's a difference between giving the story away and teasing people enough to make them want to figure out what's going on. And as a writer, I went to grad school for creative writing. They say a lot of the necessary the show don't tell, and in this case, it's definitely a little more telling than showing, but as far as writing it down. But I don't want to give it all away, and that's really what I try to do in this comic book is just give you the hints so that you can start putting the pieces together to try to figure out how the story goes. And hopefully I've written it in such a way that it'll keep you guessing and keep you surprised throughout the process, which is my goal.
Yeah, it's definitely the right genre for Easter eggs and hidden things, and to do that kind of storytelling.
Yeah.
One thing that really stood out to me is how unique and different from each other the characters look.
I appreciate that. That was my goal for sure. You kind of have archetypes if you think about it, you have archetypes in a really good superhero team. You have the super strong one. You have the one that has some kind of, mental abilities. You have someone who's has some energy manipulative powers. Maybe someone who is a great fighter. You have those kind of things, and I think that you need certain aspects of those characters in order to make it a full-fledged team and feel really like a complete unit. But I didn't want to make them just, here's another Professor X, or here's another Hulk, or anything like that. I wanted these characters to be their own. And I think one of the things that I learned from going to grad school is when you're writing characters, you need to create a really strong backstory. You really need to understand where these characters are coming from, how they would react to the world in order to be able to write them authentically. So that was why I started doing the Who's Who, the source book to begin with, because I wanted to know the motivations for these characters.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can probably come back to it over time and see how it changes, and give yourself a refresher on how you keep that character centered. And you can probably find tools for more Easter eggs in there.
That's the hope. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I'm sure we're all the same. We sit in those comic book movies until the very bitter end in order to see that.
Yes, yeah.
And that's one of the best parts of it,
A little bit of hope and fun at the end.
Exactly. And hopefully we'll be too disappointed by the Easter egg.
That's right. Oh, Greg, ask this guy something.
Yeah, come on, Greg.
Something. I don't know. Well, I didn't have any backstory for Scales originally. So that is very good to have. I got the backstory from another person that's on our platform.
Okay.
Because he was going to make a comic, and then that fell through, I guess, with his friend. It was going to be through a D&D campaign. And I'm like, can I use your backstory for Scales? Because it's perfect, dragons and all this stuff. And he's like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, awesome. So, yeah, I really like world building. So do you have a lot of that going on?
Oh, I have a lot of that. Planets. I have the sister races, which are animal-human hybrids that live in, pocket dimensions that are still part of the Earth. I mean, I have it all.
Nice, yeah.
I have aliens. I have alien planets. I have, galaxy-spanning alien empires. I mean, I got inspired by X-Men in that regard with the Shi'ar Empire. What how do they call it? The Shi'ar. I never know how they pronounce it, because when you read it, you never know.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Kree and all those were definitely an inspiration for creating those kind of things in my book. Shi'ar, I guess it is. I guess. But anyway, when you make up word, that's another thing that was really fun, making up names. That was
yes.
Hey, Ralph.
Making up names is really fun.
I agree. I always think that's fun, seeing how much you can put in the name, or what you can tie it into.
Yeah.
getting it kicked back. No, it sounds too much like whatever else.
Exactly.
Part of the process.
Yeah, it's part of the process. I mean, I name everything. I name my car. I name everything. So it's
I do it too.
Now, did these characters exist in a literary form first, or did you like start where they begin as sketches in a sketchbook?
No, completely literary. That was the thing I think that was one of the reasons I did end up putting it away at the end of my high school time, because I make pottery for a living. I'm part of I teach pottery and I can do that kind of art form great, but I cannot draw. I don't have that skill set. So it felt like I got to a point where I just didn't know where to go on from there. And back in the day, we didn't have social media to be able to say, hey, is there an artist that's interested? So I think it needed to kind of go into a box in my parents' house for until it was the time where this kind of environment was ready for me. Because back in the day, the only thing I knew is maybe they had Marvel and DC and maybe something else, but I didn't have any idea where to go from there at that point. And it wasn't until social media came around that I began to see how you can publish and publicize your comic book in a completely new way that is not the way we used to do it back in the day.
You didn't just have to be a rock star who got into someone else's previews. You could do it yourself.
Yeah,
that's right. It took a while to push Mark into that.
I admit that fully. Both of you guys were great about it, and you were probably like, "What's this guy's problem?" But it just needed to happen when it happened, and now I'm going through with it full gusto. But yeah, it really did take me a long time to get to this point, and I just this is the one thing I always have to realize. It takes what it takes, and now is the time to do it. So I can go, oh, I should have done it 10 years ago. I should have done it. But that's shoulda, coulda, wouldas. They don't do anything in life. So,
yeah.
Get busy living or get busy dying.
That's right.
Exactly.
Also, the market's changed a lot, in that time frame, especially when it comes to things like the opportunity to crowdfund. But these are like the same conversations that I've had with Van about his stuff too. It's like, well, what path do you take? And because there's definitely options. I don't know where Van's ended up lately, but
yeah, somewhere between madness and hell. But it's going. It's what we hear Mark talk. I'm hearing so much of myself in your situation, and it's really warms my heart to know that someone else out there is taking the stories that they grew up wanting to make and are just you're getting it done. You're reaching out and finding people that can help make this thing come true, because I went through the same thing about maybe 10 years ago, where I'm like I've been working on this for so long, all through school, and all my friends on my sketches like, oh, you ought to make a comic book, and I'm like, yeah, maybe someday. And and I met Aaron, and he's connected me to some really awesome people, and it's happening. It's slowly but surely, but it's happening.
Yeah, cool. Congratulations.
It's definitely a progression. One of my Facebook memories today was that I guess it would be 2-3 days from now. I guess would be the official 5-year anniversary of the release of Paradigm. So like it's officially been like 5 years since we started publishing anything. And again, like when it came to honestly, like you guys have such a leg up already. I know Greg has his story as well, but mine was we had no idea what we were doing. We were not ingrained in the community. There were not podcasts like there are now. There were not live streams at all. We just took a shot on Kickstarter, and it was a struggle bus for a month. And we got blessed right there at the end with some people that really wanted to see the company work. So if it wasn't for them, it wouldn't have funded, and I don't know what would have happened, because that funding is what got us to where we needed to do Tilt, which is what introduced me to Joe, which is where we are now and met everybody else. Yeah. I mean, it's just at some point you look back and you're like, oh, that was 5 years ago. And because I think, Greg, you guys have been, similar at Sierra Nova. It's somewhere around 5-6.
Yeah, August will be 6.
Yeah.
But I started writing my story in 2014. And then I didn't know how to find artists, kind of like Mark. But at that time, social media did exist. It was just like I didn't know how to use Google. So then I went on Craigslist and I looked for a graphic designer because I was like, this is what I need. No, it's not. And I found my co-founder Dylan, and then he's just the first person to like answer the ad, and he's like, you don't need a graphic designer, but I can make you a logo. And then he just got deeper into the whole company after he heard like the whole story that I wrote. He's like, oh, that sounds cool. Okay, well, I'm like part of this now. It's like, oh, okay. And then it took until 2019 to actually put out our first comic, but yeah.
Here we are. Yeah, again, it's one of those things you look back and you're like, oh, I didn't realize it was that long ago now. Because I still feel pretty new in all of it. And honestly, relatively, 5 years is still pretty darn new, especially when you go on these shows with a lot of people that we've been on with, where it's just like, oh crap, like you guys have been doing this for like 15 years. You remember when Kickstarter started? Like that's crazy to me. I don't even know what I was doing at that time.
You probably think you haven't met that many people in the industry until you realize you've been hanging out for 5 years, and yeah, you actually do, and it's been pretty helpful.
Yeah, for sure. And you start building your group of people that are beneficial to know and are care about each other and stuff. And I don't know. I look forward to seeing that continue to grow over the next 5 years. And I was just, as Greg was talking about, like putting stuff on Craigslist and not knowing where to find artists, I was thinking about like the paradigm that's hanging up in the living room is looks like a Street Fighter character. And it was the first ever iteration of anything that I had done. And it was somebody off of Fiverr. And it was some dude in Missouri. And I don't know his name. I've never been able to give the guy credit. Like, I don't know how it all transpired. I got the files and then never heard from him again. But yeah, it's still hanging up there. And I like to look at it sometimes and be like, wow, that would have been a very different direction for Paradigm and for all the stuff, just Street Fighter mode. But that was the time when it was like, man, I don't know what I'm doing. But I feel like now there's a little bit more of a leg up on like meeting the right people. And, even for me as well, Joe has helped a lot in just meeting people as well as giving some random guidance about like, well, maybe not that way, but you could try it this way. And then on the flip side of that, there's the like, well, Joe, that's a little old school minded, and it is 2024 now. So,
well, Joe and I are the same age, so we just realized that today. So, but yeah, no, it's funny. I was as you were saying that, I was thinking about when I lived in Vermont for 11 years, and down in White River Junction, which is right on the New Hampshire border, there's actually a comic book school, and that you can go to. And I tried to find an artist, I should say, from there, and he was the one who first began to help me morph these characters from my brain onto paper or onto computer. And it's funny how you can try different things, and when you hit the right person, then you're like, aha, you and I are like-minded, we get it. And thankfully with you, Aaron, and with Joe, that's been the case for me.
It's good to find those people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It makes the creative process more fun. Like you're working together, and instead of critiquing, it's like, no, we came together and we made a really cool product, and that's fun.
Yeah.
Well, I like a little bit of challenging each other too, to like I was saying before we started this, like I just finished editing a script, and there are a lot of comments on it. But that's what I find the most fun about that process, or any of this creative process, is like, we can make this better. That could be better. This could be better. And you meet the people that do care about that stuff. You'll meet the people that don't care about that stuff. If you ever have Joe as an artist, he does care about that stuff, because he'll be like, well, here's that page, but I'm already reworking it because I didn't like this or that about it. So then we're just like, well, okay, I guess you didn't need to show us this in the first place. But here we are. And,
Yeah, that's a real artist who could just take an entire finished piece and go, nah, I don't like it. Let me just start again.
Yeah, for sure.
Or
not many artists would do that.
Well, I have 2 versions in my mind. Let's see both of them.
Yeah. I actually never showed Van the 2 versions of that one page.
Okay, yeah.
But I think
there were once 2 pages.
I think it's page 16. one of the major death scenes in Fallen Knight. He did 2 different versions, and he was like, "What if you took one version and did it like on Indiegogo for the digital release or something?" And then the next thing I know, he was like, "I put them together," and we're like, "There it is. That's the one right there."
It's just turned into a full mashup. But
yeah, I didn't realize how violent this book was until you see the pages.
Neither did I. Yeah, wow. I was really focused on the heart of the story, but gracious, they're gonna tear each other up to get to that heart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm so glad we decided on getting rid of the bleeps, because it seemed kind of silly that we're bleeping bad words and then the guy's getting his head cut off in the next panel.
Yeah. But that's what's funny about that kind of a story is Jessica and I have had to do research on well, wait, what were the words that they used back then, because it's not the ones that we think.
No.
They were just all bodily fluid related.
Like your mother was a hamster.
Yeah, I mean, it was just all nonsensical sounding now.
Yeah, they're kind of foolish sounding and mostly bodily related and a little bit, family oriented. But yeah, just like that.
And we have Van over here trying to figure out guttural sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm taking a crash course in automatopoeia over here.
That is not my skill set.
Yeah,
I'll research the words, but not the sounds.
Yeah.
It is fun. Those are some of my favorite conversations, is when everybody just has to talk about what is the sound when a sword goes through this section of your body.
Yeah.
And then spell it.
Yeah.
I have one character
putting out a rough word in there. Oh, sorry. I just putting a rough word in there and letting everyone just kind of chip in their own ideas of what they think it should sound like.
Van put old. You looked up classic sounds or something?
Yes, old school comic book sounds, from the 30s.
Yeah, it didn't work.
Biff.
Yeah,
Biff. Really?
Like from Batman, the TV show. No, I was saying that I have one character, Foxfire, who's kind of like the energy wielder, if you will, and trying to figure out what his sound was with Joe on a telephone call, where we're like, how about versus, and how do you write that, and that kind of fun stuff. But it does make a big difference when you find that sound. I think I've said it before, about Nightcrawler. If he wasn't Bamf, that is it's so associated with that character that it's become, you could say that word and everyone who reads that comic would know exactly what we're talking about. And so, those kind of things are fun because they become integral to that character. And that's, going along with making a character completely unique.
Yeah. And then you find a really good sound for an alien. It's scree. And then you open up a James Tynion book and see a page that looks super familiar to one of your pages with the same sound effect on it. But I digress.
It's real life. It's real life.
It's page, I think it's page 3 of Welcome to Everville. Page 3 or 4. I think it's 3. Just the alien face.
It's almost the same page, and it's not. It's the same sound. Which, have you ever heard that sound before? And I don't know. No, you haven't ever heard that sound anywhere else before. It's almost the same artwork and the same sound on the page.
It's very weird. I didn't find it myself. I think it was Jessica.
It's me. I found it. I found it because I independently read them, and then I said, Aaron, look at this page. This is your page. And yes, I found that.
And then Matt was just like, oh, well.
Yeah. If you don't believe it, you can look at them and look at the dates. It's true, I swear.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't do those weird 2-page layouts. That's nice, right?
That's true. Yeah. We can see where our stories, your panels are supposed to go.
Yeah. There's a track. What's next, Mark?
For me, well, right now I'm trying to, look at my feet and just make sure I know where I am, because I really, my main focus right now is just for the next couple weeks to just keep publicizing and getting this out there, and to what you were saying earlier, get my comic book out there to the indie comics world. That's my main focus right now. Once that's done, then obviously COVID left me a lot of COVID, lockdown left me a lot of time to write. And so I've done, I would say probably I've gotten about 12 of the episodes written in some way, shape, or form. So it's, again, I've been thinking about these storylines since I was a little kid, that when I had nothing else to do except sit in my house and stare out the window, it was like, okay, well, I'm going to do something. And, so I was able to write probably the next 12 stories. And so, yeah, I mean, the next issue is my next focus.
I love that you have a bunch of stuff planned out. I'm such an advocate for it. I was talking to somebody earlier, and I told them, this is one of the most beneficial things you can do is sit down and at least figure out the arc, the complete outline for the arc, rather than taking it issue by issue, because inevitably you'll feel like you missed something or you left something out that, if you had already done the outlines, you wouldn't have felt that way, because you know exactly what's occurring, exactly where the story's going. But that's just the way it needs to be. It's just do your outlines.
You have to. I mean, you have to know exactly what story you're telling in order to tell the story correctly.
You can hide stuff better in the story that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It makes me think of Lost, that show where it had such a great beginning and you knew they just didn't know what to do at a certain point, and they just went, and that's not going to be this. That I can say many things about this, but it won't be that.
Yeah. Here we are.
That's what I just got done doing too, is fleshing out the whole backstory of my story, because I needed something for the whole story to take place in, and I didn't feel right writing the story unless I had this detailed background. And it turns out it wasn't as hard as I thought, and I finally got something that's pretty cohesive together, and that this huge load off my mind.
Well, chances are, if you're a creative person, that was all in there anyway. You just hadn't taken the time to write it down.
Exactly.
And then, you might get those gaps where it's like, oh, I should put something in here. And that's when you find the fun, random stuff.
Well, that helps you fill in the story, right? Or like tell a certain story. Why did that exist? Why do you need that detail?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. It also helps you to streamline it too. If you, one of the things, you get all these random little side stories, but if you know your arc, it allows you to keep things on track a lot better.
Yeah, for sure.
He's got to do a crossover with me. Yeah, I'm down with that.
Yeah, let's see how many Joe-related
superhero
projects we can put together. No, I really do want to do the superhero thing that I keep talking about. I'm going to do it at some point, but I'm going to have to let Greg handle it. So,
why?
Because I don't want to. Running anthologies, that just sounds like a headache.
Oh, it is.
So many people.
I haven't even went back to that yet. Yeah, I have a lot of stuff planned out already. So I have an Excel sheet of it's up to the year 2052. So that's not a real year.
Yeah, I did the for the superhero stuff that's currently paused anyway. I had the whole first 2 kind of sections. This is the way I looked at it, and it was 42. I think it was 42 individual issues to the first trilogy crossover, and then after that I had the whole next storyline for each of the characters, because it would have expanded a little bit, and that's all just kind of sitting there until someday, because I didn't always want to be the one writing everything. My goal was to write, I'm pretty sure that I would stick with Tilt all the way through to the crossover. Paradigm, I was already about ready to I wrote the whole first arc, and I know what the second arc is. But I was ready to start letting somebody script the second arc, and then Silhouette was going to get her own arc after that, and then Shift and Sage had their own stories, and I didn't plan on writing any of those. So eventually, I might be able to get to that point where it's like, oh, now I can just hire full teams to be like, here's the direction we're going, tell your story, but just make sure it ends up here, so that we can work towards that goal of the crossover. Maybe someday we'll see that before I die. Maybe we won't. Honestly, I've found some joy in being able to do these other campaigns like Fall of Night and telling these other stories, because they're a little bit more succinct, and Fall of Night's just going to be 5 issues. So when that's done, it's done. Unless we decide to do something crazy, who knows?
It's always how the product is received, right?
Yep.
This is it.
That's your biggest indicator. Like, all right. Well, if other people love Fall of Night as much as I do, I know what there will be more of.
Yep. Like we're seeing so much with the it's like, I don't know what the right way to say it is, Kickstarter bias, with the putting it up on Indiegogo and just no clicks or anything. And then also like Ralph has his story up on Indiegogo and he's gotten like one person to support it on there. And it's so at some point it's like, well, it's either I need to up the advertising or it just legitimately doesn't matter and just kind of leave it there until we're ready to fulfill. It's a weird, it's like you have to choose alliances, which is unfortunate. And there's other places that you can look at to crowdfund, but they all have their hangups, and I don't know what the future holds. I keep eyeing BackerKit though. Keep eyeing it.
So what is the difference between Kickstarter and Indiegogo? Just different platforms? Is that it?
Yeah, different platforms and different
audience.
fan bases. Yeah,
Yeah.
the audiences are very different. I don't, it used to be so split between Comicsgate and non-Comicsgate, but it's not really even like that anymore. And I think the reason is because Indiegogo, there's so much more tech stuff on there.
Okay.
So inevitably, a lot of tech people, if you're into it, you end up on Indiegogo.
And like film.
Yeah, and film. But as far as like the comic book world, it's still so nuanced as far as the audience that's over there, which I guess it is on Kickstarter too, because we're still not hitting like new people. We're not hitting fans, just like comic book fans. For the most part, we're hitting other creators and then people that are into a very specific thing,
Right.
which is
It's like
fine. It's just
Kickstarter fans almost.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. That's exactly what it is. It's just fans of people being backers on Kickstarter.
Right.
I don't know. Greg can attest to that. He's probably in the same boat as well. You see those new names every campaign, but then for the most part, it's like, oh, these people,
Yeah,
the core.
there's a few people from previous campaigns, and that was before I even did an update on like a different campaign, like Ink or whatever. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. So that person's back. And there's like a bunch of new ones. I was like, oh, all right, thanks Kickstarter.
Yeah.
But you got Zoop. That's kind of new. It seems like a couple people are starting to go over to Zoop.
Yeah, they have some weird creator rules though.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. And then there's Crowdfunder. But that's really new, and nobody really talks about it.
Yeah.
What's the one where they owned your rights for several years, even if you're...
It was Zoop that for 1 year they have all the rights to your not your product, but you running a campaign.
So if you did a campaign on a different platform and you made a profit on it, it seems like they would be claiming your profit on that.
They could if you signed up with them and funded and then tried to put it somewhere else after. Yeah, I mean, according to their rules, then yeah, they could go after you for something.
Oh, okay. Guess I won't do that.
Well, my other thought on it was I haven't read like too in depth about it, so I'm sure somebody else knows way more than I do. But like, if you went on there and you signed up and you didn't fund, does that mean you're locked out for a year of doing any other crowdfunding anywhere else? Because that's the way it interprets to me. It's like if you sign up with them, win or lose, it doesn't matter. That's not the point. The point is you signed up with them to put your book out through them. And if it doesn't fund or it does fund, you are still locked for a year. So that seems like a problem to me.
That's kind of weird. I didn't know that.
It's kind of speculative right now, but yeah, it seems like Zoop is more like a publisher than a platform like Kickstarter.
Yeah. And they still don't have the audience I don't know where the audience is. I guess that's the point, is I don't know where the actual audience that all of us need are. Not just Kickstarter fans, but comic book fans.
Yeah. And my co-founder, Dylan, he's a marketer. So he has multiple businesses. And he said one thing that's really hard to market is comics, because it could be a janitor or a lawyer or a doctor or some homeless guy on the street. So that's really hard. And then he's got a music company, everybody likes music, so that's really easy. So yeah, try to find that audience is a struggle.
And
Well,
that's
it
the,
used
you
to-
know, that's, you got to do what you love, and that's really, I think, where we're all see.
Well,
Question.
you'll find the core fans, the core audience. At the end of the day, you'll have those ones that return for everything or that like the stories. Like Greg for Catalyst stuff. He's always been there. He's Greg Strong. But you'll find those people that have just kind of always been there, and then you'll get those ones that float in and out. And then the most interesting ones to me are the ones that have backed everything, but you don't know them. Like I'm not friends with them on Facebook. I'm not following them anywhere, but they have backed everything we've ever done.
Yeah.
And like I couldn't ask for more. That's great. Like
Yeah,
welcome.
God bless him.
Yeah. And then
What
you
about
get the
Colin?
weirdest ones. Like at Fall of Night, we had the weirdest one toward the end where the dude drops I've always told Greg I was going to do a producer tier, and I did it. I've done it a couple times now, but I did it for this one, and the random dude backed it from the UK. Someone none of us know. And then I even asked people in the creator chat, and nobody knew him. And so I didn't trust it because, Kickstarter. And so I sent a message just to like be encouraging or be like, wow, man, this is awesome. I can't believe it. And it was a weird progression because he didn't even do the producer tier first. He just did the highest tier. And then somebody dropped out a huge thing and threw us under. And so he fixed it. When I put the producer tier up, he upped it all the way to the producer tier. And so I messaged him again. I was like, dude, like legit, I'm going to send you some extra copies just so our book's in the UK more.
Yeah.
And he was like, you don't have to do that, man. I'm just happy to support. So then I waited, what was it? A week and a half, just expecting
very
every day.
anxiously. Yeah.
Every day, just expecting to go on there and see that amount gone. And nope. And then afterwards, when they collected the money, it collected. I was like, what the heck? So,
it's one of the most stressful things is
Yeah.
when it funds and then you just start to see people's cards decline.
Yeah.
Stop! You're making me nervous now.
Well, that's
realities.
That's a difference in some of the platforms. So that's a difference between Kickstarter and Indiegogo. So it's just pros and cons to both of them.
Yeah, the marketing though is so different. Like if I was only marketing on Indiegogo, I know for a fact that Catalyst doesn't have the fan base for that to be received well at all. Not that people would be anti it, but they're not going to be like for it. Anyway, that's just what I'm noticing.
So when I was talking with Calvin at Icarus Comics the other day, he was talking about Comic Cons, and he was saying that Baltimore is like a really good one to go to.
That's one we wanted to do last year, but money. So
money, yeah. But yeah, he was saying that's the one where all the indie people go to.
It is, yeah, very much so. I know Joe normally goes to that one. Especially if there's someone else up there, I don't remember which one it is, that sponsors, like they'll sponsor them, let them come stay at their table for the weekend. But we're looking at one in West Virginia. It's a PopCon. It's up by where Joe is. And then I just applied to another one from one of our supporters, Brothers Boyd. They started a con. It's going to be at the beach in North Carolina. So that should be interesting and fun because it looks like it's geared towards comics, which is crazy already. I know a Comic-Con that's geared towards comics. So that's the other thing too, is like figuring out which cons are worth going to.
Exactly.
And you have a huge benefit, Mark, in that you have 100-page book.
Right.
Those usually, first off, you're already selling them higher anyway. But I mean, that's going to be huge for you, I think, whenever you get to start going to shows and slinging those books.
And they'll be heavy, so people will have to, they'll hurt it.
That's right. Buy it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back to shows too. I think we've signed up for a couple different things now, so this will probably officially be the year that we return. It's been, I don't know, 3 years, 4 years, something like that.
Yeah, we're trying to do like 4 this year. We did 2 last year. Last year was the first year that we ever did them. We, I think, are going to do Nashville Comic-Con because Dylan found out it's only like 125, and there's a bunch of people we know that are going to that. So it's like Edward Davis is doing a panel, and he said that, oh, like I can have you guys on that panel. I was like, what?
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about Kickstarter. Okay.
Yep. That's going to be the other fun thing. Other thing Jessica and I were talking about it yesterday was like getting a list together of the shows, the podcasts and live streams and stuff. And I have one somewhere I haven't updated in forever. But you know what I didn't do that I need to do? And it's going to sound crass, but I need to color code them according to how good they are. Because like for Mark, like, and not just Mark, but Ralph as well, the ones that I've been trying to recommend you guys on, they're only the ones that I had a good time on. Or that I think they run a decent interview.
Yeah. Well, there's different styles of shows too, and not to say that some of them are good and bad, but just that some of them are good for a certain personality type, like, or a panel or a one-on-one, and some of them wouldn't be the right fit.
Yeah. Some serve the purpose for what you need, which is building an audience and talking about your book, and then some of them are just like hanging out or talking crazy stuff.
Just having a chill time.
But that's why we ended up doing stuff like this, where it's just, I don't know, do team nights and then bring random friends on and talking about this. And then the last thing we did, the one where we did the voiceover pitches and stuff, has probably been the best received thing that I or Tier have ever done. And so, that's going to become a monthly show. I think we haven't talked about the date yet, but it's going to be a monthly show, and it's called That's Pitching. So it should be fun. And that way every month I'll tell you what we liked about it. Jessica, I don't know if you want to say it or if I should say it.
What we liked about it, I think, is that it was fun and it was fast.
Yeah, it was fast paced. We also had time to just like, what I liked the most was we didn't have the people on whose campaigns were live. Because all those shows, when everybody has a campaign, it's just like, all right, for the next 10 minutes, this person talks. And then for the next 10 minutes, this person. And it gets really redundant and boring. And this is coming from somebody who does this. And, by the way, Inner Sanctum Monday night. Greg will be there. Mark will be there.
We'll take those deep dives.
We'll take the deep dives.
Like,
but this is fun and a little different. And like, gosh, when you do that little synopsis, it really does give people a taste of your personality when you wrote it and what your book is about. And when you show it on the screen, then all of a sudden they get an opportunity to see that many more indie comics and to come back with a couple of them, like whichever one or whichever two resonated with them. That's a big deal to reach that many people, I think. And if it's fun, and more people are going to watch, then it's the right kind of show.
It was an extremely random idea. And we just went for it and had a good time, not expecting the response that we have gotten for it. To the point, like, we're still getting comments on videos and stuff. And that was, I don't know, last week or something. But it was a lot of fun for us. We got to talk about our friends and talk about their campaigns in a way that was like no pressure. I had fun making everybody give me an elevator pitch because a lot of people hate writing elevator pitches, but you have to have it. You have to have a 20, 30 second just little thing to tell people. And then getting to do little voiceovers, that was really fun for me. And then especially like I re-recorded them the next day and started sending them to all the different creators that I had.
Yeah, that was the one you had me send you the elevator pitch for the other day.
Yeah.
You did like a movie phone guy kind of.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
It's funny. I think what was funny about it was like doing it live. It was like, oh, we're probably definitely going to screw up the stuff. And there were ones that we did, or you can't get the tone right or the cadence. The cadence was the hardest one. But then that's why the next day I was like, you know what? Let me actually take a minute and go and actually just flat record all these for everybody. And I had some fun ones because I had yours, I had Greg's, and I had Cupid from Mike. And so when I recorded his, I'd be curious to know if Scott or Mike ever used theirs for something else. But I did it in a so I did Mark's when I re-recorded. I did it in like a 1990s cartoon vibe, where it's like coming up next week or whatever. And then for Mike and Scott's, I did it in like a sitcom, like 90s sitcom vibe. And that crap's just fun content wise, takes no time, and it gives you guys content if you ever need just random voiceover crap.
Exactly.
Are you eventually going to take write-ins?
I think so. I think really the way we want to do it is like if our friends have something live, we want to grab those and put them on a wheel, spin them, and see what we come up with.
Yeah, I actually liked that you had like a wheel that you spun and that you didn't like do it in order or anything of like what you got.
Yeah.
That's just like that a lot. Actually, I was watching most of the entire time because I was like, when are you gonna like pick scales?
Yeah.
We didn't know.
Yeah. I was like,
that's how you get them.
It was funny because Ralph just said it. I was just about to say this. It was funny because Ralph was so freaking excited all day.
Yeah.
And he was like, I can't wait. And then his was the last.
And he
had
to wait.
Ended up being a 2-hour show. And I think that's why all of us, after we stopped the recording, we were all talking and we were like, you know what? I think we can do this every month. And it was because we realized that was the first time we had done like a 2-hour show in a long time that we're like, did not feel like 2 hours and it was fun.
Yeah. Well, yes. Well, I'm thinking that didn't feel like 2 hours when we talked about so many comics. Like I love that. I live for that on a show to see how many things I can learn about or what everyone else is reading. So I think it's great to do that.
And those are things we want to start doing too, is adding in a little bit of here's what we're reading, or what Jessica did the next day after that was or a couple days after that, she started getting together all the free comics that you can go read online and just getting a list together of those that people are posting in all these groups and that never get interaction.
Right.
That we're all guilty of. That I don't know. That's just, it is what it is. But that it was fun. I think we're going to continue to do that going forward. I had fun doing Mark's as well. I was glad that I got it too because I was like, hey, this is new. So I don't know. Trying to think of what else to ask Mark.
It's a good question.
Who's your daddy and what does he do?
Who's my dad? That's a long question. That's a long answer. I don't know how to answer that question. But anyway, let's go back to the comic book.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, you know.
Okay. Here you go. Ralph wants to know who your main character is.
Well, thanks, Ralph. See, Ralph, he's good at that. Yeah, so I think in each obviously just in any format where you have a lot of different characters, it's never going to be the same main character in any issue, because like I said, I designed these characters to be really individuals, and so seeing each story told from the perspective or the viewpoint of one is going to change the way the story is being told completely, right? So in this one, though, I think it really is Scion's the main character in this one.
That's the feel I got from it.
Yeah.
I think he's who you understand the most of by the end of it. Right.
And I think that he I think it needed to be told through his story, his way, because in some ways, he's a real stoic, very kind of unemotional. He's not a really verbose person, but he's an observer, and he's very straightforward and so it made it easy to tell the story coming from a guy who's just very much like, he's very straightforward. But I don't think that's the story I wouldn't tell that these stories that way every time. I think it's gonna, if you want a darker one, my character, the Shadow, would be the perfect character for a darker one. If you wanted one that was going to be more funny, a little bit more wacky, you would have Foxfire. It goes down it just really depends on how I want to tell the story, because and
you said that you had 12 stories, 12 issues already kind of thought out, right?
Written.
When have you, as you've outlined them in your mind, have you changed the order to see if something fit better, or did you kind of know what it was going to be?
Yeah, I did do that a little bit because, there's some characters, just like anything, there's some characters that come in and go out, and when they actually, so there's going to be some other characters that need to be introduced in order to move the story ahead. And when I realized that as I was telling the story, some of those characters being introduced a little earlier or a little differently definitely made the story just flow better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
You're kind of going reverse MCU, starting with the Avengers.
Yes.
Yeah. But that's what I was going to say was it's interesting working with Mark on this and working with Ralph on his, and then even thinking about the way that I laid out superhero stuff as well. Is that mine's so one character centralistic, and then you have secondary characters, and then working with Ralph, he has one central character and then a whole lot of supporting characters that are there throughout the whole entire time. And then working with Mark's was so much more of like they're all individual elements to the story. And I think it's cool seeing people's writing process that way, where it's like, oh, what you think, like you think about telling the story differently in each of those categories. And so it's something that I'm learning, especially in the editing process or talking with Ralph about story development ideas. It's like, well, okay, I have to understand your vein of thought is like, this is how Rick would react, but bringing in his family to react with him. And then for Mark, it's like, well, here's how each of these elements would react to the same event. I find that side of stuff so much fun and so like psychological, I guess, is where people come at a story from.
Right. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier about how I spend so much time developing these backstories. I mean, I think I spent more time as a kid working on their origin stories in my mind than I did actually what the stories were going to be that they were going to be involved in. And, so I know, at this point in my life, I could tell you if you named a scenario, I could say how each of them would handle it, just like like that. Because these characters are me, in different aspects of me.
Yeah. Spend time with them in your head. It's the worlds I run to. So someday I have to do something for Greg just so I can talk about his process as well.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm like a mix of both because I got a solo series, and then those actually work up into a 3-part like team up book. Spoiler, I guess. And then there's the Seer Chronicles, which is like you think there's like one main character, but there's like multiple main characters within that. So, yeah.
See, that's how I decided to explore mine through like individual lenses until the team ups. Of course, you have the secondary characters that kind of became stronger than I thought they would be. Those were, for me, like when you look at Tilt 1 through 4, I wrote them all at the same time. And so it was all done. But then after the reception of like Exquisite in issue 1 and Cindy in issue 2, like going forward, I had to make tweaks to each of those scripts to kind of involve them a little bit more or to build up their backstory a little bit more. And I think that's the mark of what interesting creative writers are, is like, all right, well, now that I see people do like that character, is there something I can do in the next story just to give them some sort of payoff? And without me mentioning any like spoilers for that story, but if you haven't read Tilt, it's been out for forever now, so that's just ridiculous. But yeah, I don't know. I assume at some point, Mark, you need to get a website built.
Yep.
And then
I have the domain name, so I'm good for that.
There you go. That's a huge part.
Yeah.
So then you can start selling on there as well. And then Greg also hosts stuff. He has a couple of my books, a couple of them. I think it's One Last Job 1 and 2.
And no, that's it. I was gonna be like, and Tilt, but no, I don't have Tilt.
No, you don't. Those are on Global Comics. So actually, I was working on our website. It's almost done, except for having a problem with the WooCommerce plugin, because WooCommerce is a hefty plugin. It's just a problem. Something that I learned is that WooCommerce plugin uses more RAM than running a WordPress website. So that's crazy. Anyway, so we're having a problem with the plugin, which a lot of people are having. At some point, it'll get fixed. But I was building out. I decided to make a partners page and a partners and affiliates page, and so that was kind of fun for me. Is I'm starting to fill it in with people that I've worked with, and so like all the different people, like I have Seer Nova on there and I have them labeled as a digital distributor. Next to Global Comics as a digital distributor, and then I have our printer on there, and then I got to put in a section that's going to be like studio affiliates of like I put in Sovereign as a podcast co-chair since we're going to be doing that show together. And I need to put in a section that's like people I've edited for. So I don't know. I don't know why I feel like there should be a community, but I'm going to do it anyway. Dang it.
That's cool.
Yep. All right. I don't know of any other major pertinent questions from myself. Maybe going forward, Mark, when you need a letterer.
Oh yeah, Van. That sounds good. They were saying great things about you, actually.
Yeah, if I check out the Fall of Night, they let me go completely ham on those letters. Just let me mess around in any way that I felt I wanted to. And so if you like that, hit me up.
Great.
It's going to be interesting seeing Van go back to like superhero stuff, or like not crazy period piece, dramatic scrolls, because I feel like Van's going to be like, wow, I finished that so quickly.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to do something. I got some ideas about stuff I'm going to do that's kind of a little bit more techie or whatnot, but I'll find ways to play.
Always. All right. Any other questions for Mark? Is there any other things that somebody wants to know here, or Ralph in the comments?
Yeah, Ralph in the comments.
I like that there's people watching, but nobody said hi.
I know. Come on, people.
Yeah.
We see you. We see your numbers. Van on a trading, can't wait.
Yep. That's going to be great.
Is that next project?
Yep, that's the next one. Joe's going to start flinging pages at my face fast and furious.
Brad said either I am Job or I am Job. Two very different stories. If you are Job, then I hope you're doing all right.
Good luck, yeah.
Good luck.
I'm sorry.
If that's a Mrs. Doubtfire reference, then I'm sorry, but the position has been filled.
I am Joe.
Yeah, I don't know. That's where I'm at.
No, I appreciate having me on, and like I said, that just seeing that trailer gets me jazzed, because it just shows me the potential that where this can really go, and so thank you for having me on tonight to talk about my stuff, and to talk about me.
I'm very happy to see that it's going so well right from the start, and that, like you said, at this point you can start reaching the comic book people, because it's a whole world that you can unlock, a whole new set of people who are going to want to read it because of the type of story that it is.
Yeah. I mean, that's really what I want to do now. I'm thrilled that so many people have funded it and want to back it. I really want to get people who love comic books to really get a chance to read this graphic novel, because, I put my heart and my soul into it. It's like I said on the trailer, it's my baby, and it really is.
Yeah, it's a good story. It leaves you kind of like, okay, well, this is going to be a bigger world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really inspirational. It really shows that, if you got an idea in your brain, get it out there. People can and will help.
Yeah. I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the themes that I've been having on all the podcasts I've been on is, like until I found, Joe and you, Aaron, it just kind of, I just didn't know where to go and what to do with it. And, it was kind of like before that, it was just like a little self-indulgent thing that I finally just wanted to see. And, now it's something I want to show, which is very different.
There are going to be more add-ons coming out soon.
Yes, there are.
Yep, I know we're doing. What's the next one? Is it the trading cards?
Yeah, we're doing the metal trading card, right?
Yeah.
I like the style of the hoodie. It looks really nice.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
And it's got that image that you kind of can see in the background here of Scion screaming, and I think that one, just with the colors and everything else, I think it's really cool. And if I were to ever see someone walking down the street with that on, like I just I think I would just
cool. Yes.
melt.
Me. It'll be me. I wear the crap out of that merch. Also, Ralph thinks we should all make a shoe together.
Yeah.
He meant show, but I like the idea of shoe.
Go.
Now you got me thinking about Catalyst Crocs.
Yeah, there you go.
So many
Just all make little.
superheroes.
We can all make our own little gibbets. Yeah.
Hey, we did find out Joe makes a really nice pattern, so
good.
he could design a shoe for us.
For sure.
He really
yeah.
could do a superhero pattern.
Yeah. He made a lotus, and I made him send it to me, and I'm gonna use it for stuff.
Yeah.
Cool.
Underwear. Just say it's underwear.
It's underwear. It's definitely underwear with matching socks
Oh, nice.
and suspenders.
Oh man.
All set. Yeah.
Oh goodness. All right. Well, this has been fun.
Yeah, it's been great.
All right, Greg.
What?
I don't know. Where do people find you?
SearNovaComics.com or SearNova on the interwebs.
Or Scales on Kickstarter right
or
now.
Scales on Kickstarter.
Yes.
He'd probably rather see you go to that link.
That is the one you can go to.
Do you even want to sell this comic?
Go to the Scales link on Kickstarter. Go to Scales.
Yeah. I feel like
It is a
Indiana
good
Jones,
story.
The Goonies, apparently the Count of Monte Cristo. You'll like Scales.
Yeah, Jessica has a review on their Kickstarter page because people want reviews from Jessica, not from Aaron. So that's cool. That's
I
whatever.
read comics. You write comics, whatever. I read them and I judge them, and I love that.
Well, I would love you to look at mine.
I would look at it. Yes, I do. I really enjoy it. Not everyone likes to do that, but I do, and that's going to be a part of the show, is getting to take a look at people's comics that are out there. There's so many that are out there for free, and I have discovered some that are indie comics that are free, and they're so good they're just waiting to be viewed, and apparently no one wants to sift through them, so I'm going to sift through them.
They have a whole website.
Yeah. Yes.
Yep. Craig has a whole freaking website of them. But we were trying to find the people posting about theirs, you know?
Yeah.
The ones that are like, look, I have this book, somebody read it. And Jessica's
Well,
like,
I'll read them. Yeah. Well, especially when some of them, you see the cover and that's the artwork that speaks to you. But I don't know why in a group with people who love comics so much, they don't click those and read those more often. But I'm here
about something else.
You're busy making them.
I'll still complain about it, you know, but at least I'll be looking through them and enjoying them, and hopefully being able to share the ones that are good and should get more views with people.
Yep. Mark, where do people find you?
So right now on Facebook, Project Valhalla, one word. And then, of course, the Kickstarter, which the link is on here. So please, it's going on until April 11th. And so check it out. It shows you all the tiers that we talked about and gives you an overview. You get to hear my stunning voice. Please check it out.
I haven't even done that for any of my own stuff, by the way. I've made your trailer and I made Ralph's, and both of y'all's. I was like, I need you guys to send me yourselves talking about your projects, and then I use them as intros. I've never even done that for myself.
Yeah,
but I kind of like it.
That was painful, by the way, to do that.
I know. It's supposed to be painful.
Yeah.
Oy.
If you didn't catch Mark's video at the start, you should catch it. You should go to the Kickstarter page and catch it.
Go give
Please
it a
do.
view.
It's very cool. You did a great job, Aaron. Aaron did that.
Thank you. Van?
Yes. Well, you can find progress on my comic, though it's sparse at the moment. But at omnibellum.com, I got a website and no comics, so that's awesome. And then my social media stuff you could find at on Instagram, Facebook at Van Claridge. It's spelled just like that. Mm-hmm. But it's all ran together. So then you can find me there. And if you need lettering, I'm your guy. And
cool.
If you need lettering, you should check out Van's work because it's not normal. It's so cool. It's so fun and so artistic. And so if you are looking for someone, we all come to a point where we find people who we like to work with, and Van's artwork and lettering is something everyone should see so that they understand what it can possibly look like, I think.
That's awesome.
Oh, thanks, Jazz.
You're
welcome. It's a big year for Van. We got, I guess it's your first commercial release, and then maybe your first graphic novel if we can get one last job to work right. So that's a big solid entry year, I think.
Yeah, this is the year of me coming out as a letterer.
Yep.
But, hey, at least I got a good slogan. Van, he's not normal.
There you go.
He's not a normal, average, basic letterer. He's wonderful.
No, legitimately could go up against people that Greg and I could probably name drop right now, and I think Van can take him.
Oh, no.
But I'm not going to do that because then people get weird about it. So
don't you put that on me, Aaron.
Yep.
Also for the replay, Bobby. Happy birthday, Joe.
Yeah, yes, happy birthday, Joe. Jessica, say whatever it is you need to say.
Oh, just you can catch me on a stream giving a review sometime at Catalyst Comics on Facebook.
Boom. And then I guess for the rest of our stuff, we have Inner Sanctum coming up next Monday night. That is at, I don't remember what time anymore. I think it's 8. Sounds right. I think it's 8.
I think it's 8.
Greg, what time did I tell you? Mark, what time did I tell you it was? I think it was 8.
I thought you said 8, but
all right, that sounds right. Yeah, and there's a couple other people that are coming on. I think 2 of them. I don't know. So it's going to be a full house, and we get to talk about comics and no boob books this time. So it's going to be awesome and less awkward. And sorry, Mom. For the last
that was a surprise. Yeah.
Yep. I didn't know either. Anyway, so that's going to be great. And then for me, you can find me all over the place and aarondowan.com. It's a thing now. So there you go. Let's see. Greg? No. Van? No. Mark, last word.
Just, like I said, let my dream come true. Please, people.